Today we're going to be removing the tires and wheels from a 2010 Sportster 48, and we're going to be taking those off so we can take them to a shop to have some new tires put on. And the reason why we're doing this is the rear tire was so bad that we couldn't drive it. So we wanted to save a little bit of money by going ahead and doing some of that work. But also, you may not be able to drive. If you have a bad tire, you may not be able to drive it to a shop, or you may not have the ability to haul it. It may just be easier. You want to save some money. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go over the timeline just a little bit. On the first day, we're going to be removing the front tire first, then the rear tire. Then we're taking it to the shop, and you'll see like in the second day, we come back and we're reinstalling that. And also on a Sportster 48, there are some particulars to that model bike that you'll see in this video, but all models are very similar. So the main process is the same for all of them. I mean, and it's just taking stuff off and putting it back on. You put it back the way you found it, basically. So just because this is for a 2010 Sportster 48, you know, all of them are very similar. And there are two main things that you're going to need besides standard tools. And that's you're gonna need your manual, so you know your exact torque specifications, and you're gonna need thread locker. So that's just some of the tools that you're gonna need, and of course also you're gonna need a jack or some way to hold the bike up too. So let's get into it. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the brake caliper. That takes a 10 millimeter. It's one of the only millimeters. There's a few, but one of the only millimeter sized bolts on the Harley. So first we're going to remove it. We're going to zip tie it up out of the way. Then we're going to remove the axle nut, and then we're going to pull the wheel out. It's pretty simple. The wheel nut, we're going to be using a 15/16 on that, and a 5/16 Allen, and a 9/16 wrench for the pinch nut over here. We're just going to sit it right here and be really careful not to knock it off. When removing the axle, there's a spacer on either side. I'm not sure if they're the same size on this model or not, but it's a good idea to keep them in order, you know, and know which one goes on the left and which one goes on the right. There is a washer that goes behind this nut. You don't want to lose that. And again, this is a Sportster 48. A 2010 model, and the spacers are different sizes. It's a bigger one on the right hand side of the bike, so large, small. So this is a 48. We did not have to remove the fender for this, but on some models you may have to remove the fender, and it's a hardware issue with getting the rim out. But some models you'll have to remove the fender. Now we're moving on. We're going to be taking the rear tire off. Much like the front, we're going to start with removing the brake caliper. We're going to get it out of the way. Then remove the axle nut, and then remove the axle, move the tire forward, take the pulley off, and then we'll pull the tire out the back. Now the 48 brakes are a little bit different than what I'm used to working on. So there's a little, not sure what you call it back here, but it's kind of an odd looking nut. It's the spacer for the brake caliper to move in and out. So you have to start by removing this little nut back here. Now that we got that loose, we're going to move on to the front. Now that we got the caliper zip tied up out of the way, now we're going to remove the axle nut. Now, you should have a circlip right here. For some reason we don't, so we are going to be getting one of those and replacing that. So normally you would want to remove that circlip and then loosen the nut. Got a nut and a washer here. Just like the front, we've got some spacers in here. I'm gonna try to be careful when I'm pulling that out and just make note of, you know, what orientation they're in. You always want to put them back the way you find them. But we shouldn't have to mess with the adjuster nuts, and we don't want to mess with the adjustment. The belt adjustment's proper already. We're just getting the tire put on, so we're gonna pull the axle now. You don't want to just usually go beating on your axle. I usually like to put the nut back on and then bump on the nut. And then a lot of times people will put something in here, a socket or something, and just drive that on through. I'm gonna try to just turn the nut on the other side and ease it out. But we'll see if I can do it that way or if I'm gonna have to get something and drive it through. All right, looks like we are gonna drive it through. Sure. Yep. There we go. All right. So the large spacer is on the right hand side. We do got the pulley off, belt off the pulley. Small spacer on the left. And there we go. Just gotta hold your mouth right. So yesterday you saw us take the front and rear tire off. We took them, got some Michelin Commander 3s put on. Actually, I believe this one's a Michelin Commander 3. And today we're going to be putting the tires back on. We're just gonna be doing it in the opposite operation of what we did when we took them off. So let's get started. As you saw, this axle was a little bit hard to get out of there. And it's got some old dried up grease on it. It's better to use anti-seize. Grease will work in a pinch. It just hasn't been reapplied in a long time. So we're gonna put a light coating of grease on this. And that is a good alternative if you don't have any anti-seize. We use Mobilith SHC 460 pretty much as a all-around good grease around here. We use it in our CNC machines and stuff, and since I have it in stock, that's what I like to use. All right. So we put our spacers out on each side of the bike, kept them up to date. So I'll be lining up the wheel bearings with the swing arm and the adjustment nut. I'll get that started. I'll get the bearing in there. It's usually good to kind of raise it all up into place with that first bearing in there already, or it just doesn't want to fit sometimes. But before I do that, I'll be getting the belt back on the pulley. So here we go. All right, so we got the belt back on the pulley. I like to wrap my feet around the tire as I'm doing this. Just help me raise it up. I'm gonna get that spacer in place. Get that spacer in place. There we go. Now we gotta get All right. So we got all this lined up and we got our axle nut started. So next up, we're going to get our brakes back installed. We need to cut this zip tie. I'm going to get something for that. I'm going to open them up just a little bit just to make it easier to go over this disc, and then we'll get it lined back up and get it started. Right, we do want to apply thread locker to our caliper hardware. You can see that there was red used, but I like to use blue on this. Just never had any issues, but follow your manual's instructions, not mine. So to open this up a little bit, I'm just going to put a screwdriver in between here and just prise a little bit. Just makes it a little bit easier to get everything started back. I'm going to go ahead and apply my thread locker to this slide pin, I guess is what it would be called. All right. Sure, our brakes are seated in their position, correct position. Looks like they are. There is a rubber grommet here that you are going to want to make sure that your bolt goes through, and you don't want to tear that grommet. Just got to work it on there. There we go. If you're having trouble getting everything lined up, it's probably a good chance you don't have something correct, and I didn't have the brakes. The brake pad has a notch in the front that you have to line back up with the main bracket for the brakes here, and I just had it kind of, one of them at an angle a little bit so things wouldn't line up proper. Now that everything's lined up proper there, and then our bolts start easy. I didn't look the torque specs up for these bolts, but this little slide pin here in the back, you'd have to have a crow's foot or something to be able to do that anyway. It's not something that we have here in house. So just be sure to follow your manual's instructions, and you know, don't do as we do, do as the manual says. So. Click. All right. This is an important, the axle nuts are important. If you over torque these, you can crush the spacers in there, mess alignment up. You can ruin your bearings, all of that. I always do recommend torquing your axle nut to specs. And for this bike, it's 75 foot-pounds for the rear axle and 55 for the front. There is a circlip that needs to go back here. It's very important. It's a very important safety feature. We've got ours ordered and we are going to be putting it on there. We just don't have it right now. So do not forget to put that on yours. Anytime you do anything with brakes, you want to go ahead and pump them. Get them pumped back up. And now the rear should be ready to go. It's good to ride. So just like the rear, we're going to start by putting a light coating of grease on the axle. All right, we got our spacers. We made note of their orientation, so they'll go back in the right place. Of course, the brakes on the left-hand side of the bike. All right, just like the rear, you want to raise the tire up at the same time with your spacer already in place for the first side. I like to use my leg, like I said before, for holding the tire up. Get our axle started. Get our second spacer. In place there. Push it on through. All right. Get our washer, our nut started here. Just going to use this hole through the axle here to hold it and get everything started tightening down. So we'll torque it to 55. All right, that's 55. Don't seem like 75. What's the rear? All right, torque to 55. Now we'll put our pinch bolt in. Thread locker. Going to go ahead and apply thread locker to our caliper bolts. You can check your manual for the torque specs on this. Feels pretty good to me. Just like the rear, I'm going to open the caliper up just a little bit, make it easier. Doesn't take much. Put our caliper back in place. Get our bolt started. And again, it's a good idea on brakes to use torque specs for your bike and your manual. If you don't have those right now, we'll probably come back and torque them, but we'll put it on the screen now. All right, again, we want to pump our brakes a few times. And it's hot in here, but that's how you put the tires back on. So now we got some new rubbers. We're gonna go give her a try. All right, so I hope that was helpful to you. Hopefully maybe you can save some money or get yourself out of a bad spot with that. If you like the video, please hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you can see when our next videos come out. Like, subscribe, and y'all ride safe out there.